All right, welcome back, everyone. It is September. Happy expiration. With me this month, and after the close, we have our original guest returns, Mr. Thomas Serpico. Thomas, how are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing good. We're in back to school season. We are in football season. We are in the fall season. We got a lot of things going. Yeah, I was about to say, we didn't score the New York Giants head coach for this month's episode.
No, no. I know you were trying, and
He's a
it just yeah.
he's a reach.
Devil's a little busy this time of year.
Mhm. But yeah. So let's not bury the lead. How did your dishwasher turn out?
Dishwashers, man. Okay, so yeah, a dishwasher. So obviously, when I last left you, everyone was on the edge of their seats with the
When we
dishwasher,
last
and
spoke 20 months ago.
yeah, 20 months ago. Yeah, Jesus Christ, 20 months ago. Yeah. So the dishwasher, I figured the dishwasher out. The dishwasher is not a great dishwasher. There's some quirks with it. Working through those things. Doesn't leak though. So I
Doesn't
fixed the
leak.
leak.
Leak is dead.
I fixed it. It was all good. It's the counter's still busted up, but still haven't fixed that. But I can clean my dishes, so that's helpful. But I've got plenty of other appliance and homeowner things that I could talk about. But
I'm sure you
man,
could.
yeah, tons and tons of things. I mean, the new thing that's grinding my gears, the landscaping that I have. That was a whole debacle this summer, but that's my project for this upcoming weekend is to build a small retaining wall and plant arborvitaes. That's gonna be
All right,
fun.
take a breath. It's okay. We'll get to each of them. I understand the whole bit there. What's interesting is that you gave your angry rant about that dishwasher, and then we clipped it up and we threw it out there for the world, and that was the first one that probably started to get like a couple hundred views and started to I get actual feedback from people. I started asking me like, "Is he okay? What happened?"
Yeah, no,
That was
yeah,
sort of the first one, so that was fun.
yeah. That
So
that that really did grind my gears. That was really rough. But so I guess 20 months ago, right? I guess my wife was newly pregnant with our second kid, and that's when that whole dishwasher fiasco thing was going on. So my oldest daughter at the time was, I guess, 2.5. So she was helping me like fix the dishwasher, and she was fixing her dishwasher. Well, now the youngest one is now obviously we have two, and she's about 10 months, and she's walking around, and she is obsessed with that dishwasher. She when that like she just beelines it to that dishwasher all the time, and she's just
to open
grab
it,
it on. What?
to play with it, to push the buttons, to
Play with, well,
open
because it's
it.
like the right height. So like when the door is down and the I guess the bottom tray is out, like it's the perfect height for her. She likes to grab onto it. She likes to rock things. She likes to try to just play with all the things in there. So when you're trying to like clean some dishes and put stuff in there, as soon as you open that thing up, she just beelines it for you, and it's like all right, come on, you gotta pick her up and move her away. Just, but yeah, so something about that dishwasher, it just attracts everybody in my family too, for better or for worse. Something about that dishwasher, it's pulling us in. I don't know what the deal is, but so
Is it a
that's what's going
Maytag?
on. No, no, I don't even know what it is. It's oh shit, I don't even know. It's like a Kenmore or something.
Well, riveting discussion as
Yeah,
always,
I know,
Thomas. Thank
always,
you.
always, no
We'll
problem.
we'll check in 20 months from now to hear what else is going on with that
Of course,
dishwasher.
I'm sure you will. So
But it is September. We are in back to school. Your girls are not in school per se yet. You got one more year of preschool, I think, right?
correct, yeah. So all the schools just went back in our area this past Monday. So
Hmm.
like the end of August, and then so like that marked one calendar year for our oldest to start kindergarten. And so like so next August she's going to be getting on the school bus going to kindergarten and doing her thing. So she just moved up to in her daycare. She's like in the next like the class right below kindergarten, and they run it like a kindergarten. So they have a lot more responsibilities, and they have a lot more going on. So like she's responsible for like putting her lunch away in the refrigerator in the morning, and like doing a
Hmm.
bunch of like little tasks to get them more acclimated to kindergarten, which is going to be pretty good. So which is nice because she's been there and she's comfortable there. So if there is any sort of bumps in transition, like we can kind of work through them a little bit, like in terms of scheduling, in terms of like whatever they're trying to accomplish for kindergartners. So then hopefully when she goes into actual kindergarten, it's not so much as a shock, like in terms of like scheduling and like what they're doing day to day and things like that. So
Is it
hopefully
gonna
it goes well.
Are you in the daycare you're in now? Is that one of the, is it like a local place or is it a, what do you call it? Like a chain?
It's a local place, so it's like one of two that's owned by the same person.
Hmm.
And so in where we live in a fairly large school district, and there's another fairly large school district right to the north of us. So there's one daycare in each of those districts, and we're in one of those districts. So, and
But
that's
it's part of the school system?
no, it's not part of the school system, but the way they break it up is like the person who owns those purposely opened one in each of those school districts, and they coordinated busing for like kids who are in like kindergarten through fifth grade, like to those in the morning. So like you could drop them off at that daycare in the morning, then a bus could pick them up from the daycare and bring them to school, and then bus them back there for the afternoon for like aftercare as well. So like they
Okay.
kind of
Okay.
figured that out. So that was pretty good.
Okay.
So
So it's
yeah.
ultimately, it's private. You're paying for it.
Oh yeah. Pay
Yeah.
nothing
You
for
pay
it.
that, pay that goddamn daycare. That is the gift that keeps on giving. Daycare payments. We're just starting our back on two.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went back to double dipping daycare payments, and I'll tell you, we're counting the days until we can roll that one off. It's tough.
So I mean, how does that compare to like the New York Metro to where you are now in terms of all things like
You definitely get more bang for your buck.
that's what I was gonna add. Yeah, like in
You
terms of
definitely get more
quality
bang
for
for
the
your buck.
price
Oh
and
yeah,
things like
the worst of the worst was I was having a conversation with my wife just the other day about how just god awful expensive like the New York area actually was
that.
now that we are really entrenched in what like a different region's cost of living is.
Yeah,
And
and you're also in suburbia. Like you're not in metro, like which is
that's true.
different.
We're in suburbia too. That's definitely a factor. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So it's like north to south, urban to suburban, and
right.
so there's multiple factors. You're 100% right. The that but and not to sound like snotty, but this is trader dads. No, but we happen to live right near some of the banks. So
Uh-huh.
we were our daycare actually was in the lobby of the Goldman Sachs building.
Oh,
So not to sound like, but so there were people who had means coming in and out of there, dropping their kids off. So they weren't
right.
afraid to charge accordingly. That's what I'm trying to
Right.
get at.
So all the preschoolers were sitting there talking about whether NVIDIA was going to be earnings this past week, and they were,
You know what? They may very well may have been. They were on they were doing the watch parties and
yeah,
stuff.
right, exactly. Yeah, and then
Instead
it's
of
just
it's like
tonight everyone gets formula.
formula on me,
Formula on
everybody.
me, everybody.
Give me the Similac Gold.
Another round of cookies.
Yes. Yeah, those they whipsawed, didn't they? That was
Yeah, well, yeah, that was a pain,
oh.
but that was something. But I mean, well, it was so. I mean, I don't know. We're not going to off track, but with NVIDIA, they were like, oh well, normally if they were a basketball team, they're like, yeah, you've been winning by like 30 points every game. You only won by 20. What the hell?
That's essentially what it was. You're
Yeah,
100% right. That's
yeah.
what
It's like that's it's just like okay, cool. Like yeah, you killed it, but not as good as you normally do. So
but you know what? It's that's if you look at so yeah, I don't really want to turn this into an NVIDIA
no, we
valuation
don't talk about
discussion,
that.
but yes, you're right. That's exactly what last quarter's earnings releases played out to be.
Right.
But that's what it is. It's
Yeah.
growth rate. That's what
Yeah.
drives multiples. Really,
Right.
that's really what it is. So if growth rate slows, it's like disinflation. It's just there's still inflation, but less.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
You're still though ultimately the cumulative. That's like that's the whole inflation argument you're hearing about through the election cycle is kind of like the Democratic side is arguing that they got inflation back down, which they did on a year-over-year basis.
Right.
The Republicans are arguing that cumulatively, the fact that it used to go up by 9% a year and now only goes up 2% a year means it has still gone up 9% and then another 2% for over 2 years. What
Right.
is that? 10.5%.
But, yep.
No, wait, what would it be? 11 and a half?
Yeah. Yeah. Nine plus two is 11.
Yeah, but then there's a compounding.
All
So it'd
right.
be like 11 and a little
Yeah.
bit
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
No, you're right, but it's okay. Sue me. We're doing 16 different things here.
I
Producing.
think you need to get back into the classroom and start maybe instead of being the substitute teacher, maybe you sit down in the desk a little bit and learn some of your arithmetic, you know.
You know, I never taught math.
It shows.
I taught
You don't say.
I do say. I do say. Um, all right. Anyway, we're not turning this into another NVIDIA discussion, but you're
No,
right.
it's fine.
I did screw that math up. But anyway,
Mm.
I totally lost my train of thought. We were
Well, that's fine.
talking
Well, that's a good
about
segue here. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of this conversation here, and the things that people really want to talk about. Now, obviously, we covered the dishwashers a little bit, but there's two things that come up all the time on your podcast:
okay.
dishwashers and Marshawn Lynch. Those are the two staples that come up on your podcast all the time.
They came
So
up that one time.
So all the time. So it comes up all the time. So,
All the time that you're
I,
on the episode, yeah.
I took it upon myself to reach out to Marshawn Lynch directly about his dishwashers. So let me pull up my phone here. So I reached out to Marshawn Lynch.
I feel like this whole
X.
thing is getting hijacked now.
Well, I don't care. So I reached out to Marshawn Lynch on X, formerly known as Twitter, and I said, Marshawn, do you have a dishwasher in your house? If so, how many, and when was the last time you used it? So obviously his response was nothing. Radio silence. Marshawn Lynch did not respond to me, and it didn't matter. So obviously I went to the next best thing. Our new overlords, ChatGPT. So I went over to ChatGPT and I said, could you please answer the following questions as if you were NFL running back Marshawn Lynch? To which it replied, sure, I'll do my best to channel Marshawn Lynch's vibe. Go ahead and shoot your questions. And this is where things start to get a little off the rails here, and we're going to have to...
Now it's gone off the rails?
Well, so I asked the question. I said, do you have a dishwasher in your house? And if so, how many? And when was the last time you used it? So ChatGPT did a very good job of channeling the essence of Marshawn Lynch. Now, I'm not going to try to channel that essence of Marshawn Lynch. I'm just going to read the response as if I'm reading the response. So the response was, hey, man, I got to keep it real with you. Yeah, I got a dishwasher in my house. Just one, though. Last time I used it, shoot, I don't know, probably like a couple weeks back. But, I ain't really keeping track of that stuff. I just let it do its thing when it needs to. To which then I replied, have you heard of the Trader Dad's podcast? What do you think about it? Nah, I ain't heard of that one. But I had to guess it probably sounds like some dude's talking about trading stocks or something, maybe giving out advice on how to make that money. Or it could be dads trading stories. Who knows? Either way, as long as they're doing their thing and staying in their lane, it's all good with me. Great guess. It's a podcast hosted by Mike Serpico, and he brings on guests to talk about trading, dad life, and education. Would you have anything to talk about with him? I appreciate that, fam. Mike Serpico sounds like he's mixing it up with some solid topics. If I were to hop on that podcast, I'd probably talk about handling that grind, both on and off the field. Trading is all about making smart moves, and that's kind of like football. Patience, timing, knowing when to make your play. And when it comes to dad life, I'd definitely share some wisdom on staying grounded and being there for your fam. Education, too, because that's the key to making sure the generation has a shot at greatness. So, yeah, I think we could chop it up and have a real good convo. So, that's what we've gotten so far out of Marshawn Lynch ChatGPT.
Is that end scene? That whole...
It goes on for quite a bit. Me and Marshawn had a very long conversation via ChatGPT, but I think that really goes to show you, I was surprised personally at how much when I read that for the first time, how I could picture Marshawn Lynch saying those things, and how
that might be more of a reflection on you than it is on ChatGPT.
I mean, I don't know if you ever listened to interviews with Marshawn Lynch or how he talks.
I've never once listened to an interview of Marshawn Lynch.
Well, that's a shame because he's delightful. So back in July, you had sent out a couple email blasts about AI and basically, what they were doing and, what it was and all that other stuff. So I was reading that and I was thinking where I don't really use a lot of those AI tools all that often. Like for what I do for work or anything like that, like I'm not a programmer. I'm not doing things like that. The things that I'm doing are not, prompt worthy. They're more kind of outside the box stuff. Mm-hmm. But what I am seeing though is that people are trying to get artificial intelligence and things like that into my profession, civil engineering. So mm-hmm. One of the things that I do is site development. And what was happening, what you do is, if you have a piece of land you can put in parameters and like rules, and then people are trying to develop programs that'll like basically lay out the site and basically do what we do from a high level computer standpoint. And it's interesting to see what those outputs are and how quickly that potentially is going to move into what we do. So that was kind of I'm trying to research that and kind of dabble in that and see like what exactly that's going to do and how that's going to impact what I do from a day-to-day standpoint, from AI and things like that. So, like it's creeping into much more like not, I don't want to say like, if then statements, but like more abstract, like three-dimensional thinking. It's starting to come into like, because it's not like write me a program that does this.
You're saying that the AI is getting that.
Yeah. It's getting to the point where like it's starting to permeate into things that I didn't think it was going to permeate into for a little while. Like my profession, for instance, like I didn't think it was going to get into, site development as quickly as it did. And it's, there are some bugs, obviously, but the fact that people are working on it is like, oh, that's fun. That's good to know. So got to keep an eye out for that. So that's something that I thought was, kind of all encompassing. Kind of brought it all back,
So you're just making that observation. You're basically just saying, "Wow, look at this! AI is creeping into my job for real. It's a thing that's happening." That's kind of your point.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where I'm getting at, and like I didn't necessarily think that it was going to happen as quickly as it did for what I'm doing. That's really what I was surprised by. And now, granted, that was when I learned about certain programs like that. That was a few years ago at this point. That wasn't necessarily like a recent development. That was like, oh, hey, we're trying to do that. And I think that probably in another couple of years, some of those things are going to be much more prevalent in what I do. So being able to utilize those tools is going to be very, very important for what I do.
I agree. So in those articles, I analogized prompt engineering,
right?
Like giving the instructions to the AI,
right,
as a mid 21st century equivalent of learning SQL for databases. Like SQL for databases, you'd be like, oh, select star from table where so on and so on, right?
Yep.
And there's like it's a pretty simple syntax, but it works for anything that's a relational database.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, right, like you have to, if you want AI working on something, it has to know what to work on.
Yeah.
Like AI, like in the same way that managing people is like a skill unto itself, because you kind of have to know how to like coax and persuade and get people to like line up behind you. You have to like manage the AI if you're going to utilize it towards your own goals, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So like the skill sets are going to adjust.
Right. Yeah, and so the big thing too is that for what I do, it's very geographically based. So like the rules in my state are going to be different in the rules than in a different state, and then also the rules in a municipality that I'm working in is going to be different from the rules in a different municipality. Like they're going to vary from point to point, project to project, thing to thing, and depending on where you are. There's a lot of parameters that go into that. But if you could feed all that information into something where it can actually process it, then that is going to that's going to just cut down on so much, I don't know, difficulty, I guess. It's going to be interesting to see like if and when it can cut through all of the different idiosyncratic things that are going on in each geographical region and just like, all right, there you go.
So when I wrote those 3 articles in particular, it definitely had a bias towards the serious side.
Right.
Like of like, this is going to be radical. Some of the things that might change and the speed with which they might change.
Yeah.
The part which I didn't get too far into, but though I touched on when I talked about like the future of work, the difference between what we're doing now, what we will be doing, it's very tough to pinpoint, right? Like I think that there's a lot of like things that are going to change how people and companies interact with AI. Like the big problem now, and it goes back to the NVDA problem, is that the capital expenditures that you're using for building out these data centers that house AI algos are, for lack of a better word, they are monstrously expensive to build. So that's why there's been a chart going around about like Cisco versus NVIDIA stock price.
Mhm.
The very, very, very like 2 sentence answer of what happened in the dot-com bubble was that they laid all of this next gen fiber optic cable down and servers and switches and Cisco like infrastructure for like the World Wide Web, which was built and sold to consumers by Cisco. So all those servers, all the switches, all the hubs, all the fiber optic lines, all the coaxial cables, all that shit. And then Cisco eventually collapsed, stock that is, because it didn't couldn't keep up with that order demand, right? Like the servers suddenly became like super cheap because everybody already had servers and they saturated the market. So it happens, and it happened again with the railroads, like way back in like the 1800s. They overbuilt the railroads, they overbuilt like IT infrastructure in the dot-com boom, and now like the argument against it is that they're overbuilding on AI data center compute capacity. So the thought is at some point NVIDIA is going to crash again. But that's short term. The longer term of that is that even though like some of the railroads went bankrupt and then Cisco crashed and then maybe NVIDIA might crash, they still survived. And then in the longer run, they did make all that money back and it did prove to be really useful.
Right.
So like that's like all the servers and stuff got super, super cheap by like 02, 03, 04. Well, a college kid named Mark Zuckerberg could rent server space by 2004 for like nothing, like something that like a regular person could do, which wasn't the case in say 1994. So like all that shit ends up like coming around again to help whatever the next generation is. So like these are all like generation one things when you're thinking about what's going to happen in that regard. But it's really, really hard to like you couldn't say when Cisco crashed that, oh, that's great, then we're going to get Facebook. Like you could not possibly see that.
Right.
Cisco crashed, making like, compute hardware really cheap so college kids could start buying it up and doing their own startups.
Right. There was
Like
a million
no
avenues I think could have
reasonable
happened.
person would have obviously predicted that to happen. So with
Right.
AI, no obvious person can reasonably predict what's going to happen.
Right. But what we could do is we could ask AI Marshawn Lynch what he thinks about AI, which I did. So I said, as for AI, it's a wild space, man. AI can do some crazy stuff, like helping you analyze trades or even just making life easier by handling some of the little things. But at the end of the day, it's all about how you use it. It can be a powerful tool to keep in check. And just like anything else, you can maybe chat about how AI is changing the game in trading or even how it's impacting education life on the day to day. So yeah, I think Mike would dig hearing about our chat and diving into how AI is shaking things up. Thanks, Marshawn. Appreciate that.
Jeez. Okay. Well, thanks, Marshawn. Thanks, AI Marshawn Lynch.
AI Marshawn. Can't beat him, Yeah, he's
I can't argue with that.
no, you can't. It's just,
That was a politician's answer. ChatGPT can be quite the politician.
Yeah, I mean, that's don't blame me, man. I voted for Kodos.
I definitely dropped that at somewhere recently.
Yeah.
Voted for Kodos.
Yeah, I don't update my Facebook status very often, but after I think one of the elections, that's all I posted. I was like, "Don't blame me. I voted for Kodos." That was it.
You threw your vote away. Vote away.
So that's good. So
anyway,
yes.
back to my original point. So daycare is expensive.
Yes, daycare is expensive. Yeah. So yeah, that's been. I mean, that's been one of the things. I mean, yeah, obviously, you have two in daycare again. We have two in daycare now, and that's been one of those things that's been, like we're counting the days, or it's like, all right, I'm counting the days till I have to stop making bottles every day. That's what I'm counting.
That's a good milestone.
Yeah, that is
not having to make bottles every day.
Yeah, that just clearing off some counter space, getting rid of the bottles, because we are stopping at two. We are done. We are having two kids, and that is what we're doing. So yeah.
By the time when the September is the expiration, this drops the 20th.
Yep.
Well, I guess whatever. We'll talk about it. I will not be dadding any further children in the near future.
Cool. Nice.
Getting that taken care of. So
getting the old snippety snip.
I am.
Yeah, I had that happen in March.
You did have it happen?
Yeah, I had a vasectomy in March. I've had a lot of medical procedures this year.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah, I know.
Did
I
you
hit the
get the
deductible, so I gotta get them all in.
did you get the did they put you under?
No, for a vasectomy, no.
Did they give you like laughing gas or anything?
No.
They did
Local.
not. So you got a total local
I
anesthetic?
just got the local, so we could diddle around down there. Just go.
No, seriously. You just got the local?
Yeah, no, seriously. I was literally talking to him the entire time.
The doctor I spoke to, he lays out the whole thing, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, I understand. Okay, fine. And then he says, oh, and for extra 150 bucks, we'll give you laughing gas and knock you out for it. And I was like, sold.
No, it's not worth it. It's over in 10 minutes. It's not a big deal. So
Doesn't
it's
matter.
funny.
He like sold me. I was like done. Like I already signed the paperwork. He's just gonna like knock me out. I paid an extra 150 bucks over and above what I would have paid, and he's just like, yeah, we'll knock you out. It's fine. And I was like, cool, let's do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd rather be kind of awake for that, like to just kind of know what's going on down there. You can't feel anything. You just it's all just crazy numb.
You feel the first part.
Yeah, the pinch, but I mean that's not that big a deal. It's like getting Novocaine in your gums. It's not
I don't
that
like
big
that
a deal.
either. If I could get laughing gas for that, I'd get that too.
All right, that's fine. Yeah, but yeah. So that was that. So I did that in March. That was a thing. So I scheduled that for the stereotypical first Friday of March Madness.
Well, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, that was a dumb idea though, because like
I'm getting mine done on my wedding anniversary.
Hey, there you go. That's the way. Hey, so it's kind of like when you got married, you got your balls.
It's a full circle thing.
Yeah,
it's really the symbolism of it that
when you got married, you kind of lost your manhood, and now now you're literally gonna just get the snip. There you go. Just makes sense. I like it. That's good. That's gonna be in September, I guess. Yeah, it's gonna be end of September for you.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. If I don't definitely buy and wear a jockstrap. Like you definitely need to like
they explained
that.
the whole bit. Yeah, I got the whole I got the whole paper and the whole thing. They explained it all. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it took me about 10 days to like be 100%. After about 3, I was probably about 75-80% though.
Yes, I deliberately did it during a weekday because then like I know all I'm doing is sitting at my desk for all day to work.
Yeah.
For like the next couple days.
Yeah.
Versus the weekend when I gotta like lug the kids around and stuff and do like lifting and everything. Like,
So that's a thing. That's the thing that's difficult. So like when we did it, my youngest was 6 months, so she wasn't like mobile yet. She might be crawling around, but like she wasn't like walking, and like had to like follow her around. So that was a challenge. And you have more. You have 3 of them, so that's even harder. But yeah. So yeah, good luck with that. That one's not that bad though. Like of the 3 things that I've done, that was not that bad. So the other things I had a colonoscopy.
Was the good one?
Relatively, yeah. Yeah, colonoscopy. The prep for that was terrible. That was pretty rough. That was just frustrating.
You're just something else.
Are you gonna say I'm full of shit because during the colonoscopy it wasn't? Oh man. Like so yeah.
Throw that one up for you.
Yeah. But that was so I did that. I had one in May. That was fun. They
you decided to. You're like, you don't want to do this month.
No. I was having some issues. I was having some issues in my stomach, and it's been somewhat persistent for a while. And it's like on and off. So they're like, yeah, let's go get that checked out. And they checked it out. Turns out that like right on the left side of me, where I get like a persistent pain, my intestines like shrink at that point. So like things get caught, and so they're like, yeah, and when you get stressed, it probably gets worse. So I was like, oh, great, cool.
Maybe you and AI Marshawn Lynch should keep that to yourself.
Yeah, maybe. And yeah, so and then last week I got a bunch of wisdom teeth out, so that was fun. That one hurts still. That one stinks.
If you could have gotten laughing gas, would you have taken it?
I mean, they knocked me out for that.
Oh, okay. So
I was out. Like they gave me general anesthesia for that. So I don't remember anything coming out of that. Apparently they didn't like talk to me. They just like, all right, you're done, go. I'm like, oh, okay. So then
like
the next
wandered
day,
out into the forest like Mr. Burns when he has like radiation sickness.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Well, so the next day I got a call from my pharmacy being like, hey, there's 2 things here for you to pick up. I was like, oh, all right. They didn't tell me I needed to take anything. So there was amoxicillin and Percocet there. I'm like, oh, do I have to take this? So yeah, when I'm like, yeah, apparently I have to take that stuff to make sure everything closes up, and they didn't really give me very good directions after that one, or if they did, I don't remember it. So you know, whatever.
Either is plausible.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. But man, that's been it's been over a week, and my jaw is still killing. That's like this stinks. It hurts.
I'm
So
sorry.
that's not your fault, But yeah, it's the year of medical things. Had to go get all the medical stuff done in 1 year. So hit the deductible and just get all the insurance. Just do that.
That is smart. It's actually a smart strategy. Yeah, like
Yeah,
you hit the like the max. You get my wife. We have to pay. We had to pay for the pregnancy,
mhm,
so that like got us right near the top early on in the year. And
right.
so we're like, let's just get over the max, then we'll just get like all these cosmetic procedures done, and we'll be all set.
That's what I'm doing. Yeah, this is the year. This is the year of cosmetic. This is the year of procedures for me. All those things. So I got to think if there's anything else I got to do.
I don't know.
Before my year runs out. I think my year runs from March to March. So I gotta get it in. So
You're not like a vain person. You wouldn't get like a nose job or something.
no, no, no,
Yeah,
no. I'm talking like
like
nuts and
calf
bolts. Make sure
implants or something.
no, no. Making sure all the like if I was a house, I'd want good bones. That's what I'd want. Like that's how I'd describe it. As long as all the stuff is functioning the way it's intended, the cosmetics, I don't have much to work with anyway. So it's like you're not gonna make this. You're not gonna make this a 10. You're not. You're just not. So, so I'm okay
Well,
with
I
it.
mean, you just have to make it on a scale of 100.
Yeah, well, there you go. So that I guess that perspective. Yeah, that's all I got to do.
Oh yeah, but
So,
that's yeah, I get that stuff. So that planning and stuff is kind of important.
mhm,
Like just utilizing like the cap well to then get your most bang for your buck, even if it's like to get something that's elective done. That's actually kind of smart strategy because you can get like all the different tax advantage stuff for healthcare, and you can get for any number of other things too. I'm not really a tax expert, so
no,
we actually had a like an actual sit down with a tax advisor just recently to get ready for like not just next year, but like just going forward. Like how
right.
should we like make like tactical pivots now? Because we finally like settled.
Mhm,
Like we are homeowners now, and we have all of our children. Like we are at like the like I joke that we have a once in a lifetime event every 6 months,
mhm.
and now like
You're
ideally
done.
those are over.
Right,
You know what I'm saying?
right,
So now we finally said like let's sit down and look through it. So like we got some feedback on different like I'm gonna convert this to a that, and I'm gonna like
right.
divert this to a that, a little bit better that than we were. Ours
Yeah,
was so streamlined and simplified for years, it never really made sense to like
right,
go in and get like a tune-up, so to speak. But now we're kind of like we got enough moving pieces that it's worth just listening to, and we did get some good feedback for it.
right. Yeah, and we've kind of been in that boat for a little while. Not necessarily with like the kids and stuff, but like we've owned our house for years, and then we've been going to the same tax people for a while, so they kind of like, hey, just nudge us in the right direction, like, hey, just maybe do this instead. I'm like, all right, cool. So and then just talking with
Right.
other people, just just little things here and there you pick up and you just do it, and it's like, all right, it works out. So yeah, the house thing though, that is nice though, like having equity. That
Having
is,
equity.
yeah, that is nice. Well, because when we bought our house in 2017, and and then we refinanced in 2020, like right before COVID. So
Mhm.
then, and then the housing prices in this particular area have skyrocketed, like an insane amount.
Many,
So
many places housing prices have skyrocketed.
right, well, so like I don't know if there was something that just came out that our local news was covering, and that the zip code that we live in is one of the top 10 zip codes in the country to live in, or like in terms of real estate hotbeds, because people are trying to move here, and because it's the proximity to the certain highways and the proximity to all of the major cities.
Hmm.
So like you can get to New York City, Philly, DC, Baltimore, Boston, Pittsburgh, like you can get pretty to like all those cities very quickly on a major highway. In my zip code is like the center. It's like
I do know, like that, like I totally agree that's possible. And on top of that, aren't there a lot of Walmart, Amazon, logistical
yeah.
hubs there where they
Well,
have big major warehouses for that exact same reason? They
yes,
can transit
yeah. So
goods to
so where I
whatever
live
angle of
in
the
the
country
Lehigh
they need.
Valley, yeah. So where I live in the Lehigh Valley, and also for what I do is site development. Like warehouses are a hotbed issue in this general region. So I would say about 15 years ago, so like 2009, 2010, or yeah, around that time, a lot of savvy developers understood that, and they went in and tried to get prime real estate in areas that would be really good for, you know, getting to those highways and being very efficient in terms of their shipping and things like that.
You talking
So
about residential or commercial spaces?
commercial, absolutely commercial. It's all for massive warehouse development.
Oh,
So
okay.
they knew that e-commerce was like the thing that was going to happen, and they knew that they were going to have to fit out all these buildings. So
Cisco's crashed. Now's our time to buy cheap.
yeah, exactly. So that was like a big thing. And what happened was some municipalities were prepared for it, some were not, and the ones
Dun,
that were
dun,
not,
dun.
the real estate developers were able to come in and buy that land and kind of just steamroll and get their approvals. And then the unintended consequences, or at least the percepted or perceived, I should say, consequences of those things. So there's more traffic, there's more tractor trailers on the road. You know, those more developments are creating more congestion. And, you know, when you're driving on local roads and there's tractor trailers that weren't really meant to be on those roads, for people that have lived here for a very long time, that's really agitating to a lot of
Cats and
people.
dogs living together. It's pandemonium. I can
Yeah.
imagine.
Well, yeah. So certain municipalities, you know, were able to put in large warehouse developments that were like meant for that, and that those were fine. Those worked out really well. But then now people are trying to squeeze warehouses on pieces of land that just they're on like local roads, and and it's just not great. And there's a lot of organized opposition groups to warehousing, and there's a lot of organized opposition groups to a lot of other projects, and it's sprawling out. And you know the you know we're in the Lehigh Valley. You know, there's like three kind of major cities. There's Allentown, Bethlehem, and Easton, and you know they're all kind of connected by two highways, which is Route 22 and Route 78. And if you're inside those two highways, that's like the main area of the Lehigh Valley. But then over time, that's sprawled out. And when you get into those other areas that have sprawled out, that's a lot more rural. And in those rural areas, there's a lot more farmland to be developed. So a lot of people, when they're trying to go in and develop that farmland, that's a really big change for what's been there for years and years and years and years. And also the infrastructure that goes around all of that is old and outdated. So there's two schools of thought. One is, no, we don't want that development. We don't want it to change. You know, we don't like it. Stop it. Then the other one is, well, if these developers are coming in, we can get them to foot the bill for all this infrastructure. You know, we can force that in the developers agreement. So, you know, there's two different schools of thought as to whether or not you want to welcome that type of development or not. Then you also kind of have to vet who's developing it, because there are national developers who are, you know, really do great things, and they really want to be part of the community, and they really want to like do good by the community and like invest in the community, because if they're going to be there for a long time, they don't want to be in a dump. You know, they want a good community to be surrounding their infrastructure so that they get good people to come to their offices and their work and all that other stuff. And then there are some guys that are just in it to flip it, and they don't care. So, you know, you kind of get a mixed bag. It's interesting to me, at least, because that's what I do. But yeah. So yeah, warehouse is a big deal.
What was that? Sorry, I wasn't listening.
That's fine. That's fine. You know, listen.
I
That's no problem.
what the broad idea that you're talking about is really interesting. I think when I talked about the future of work, a piece of the thing I had mentioned was deglobalization.
Right.
As a way to sort of like ignite some of the more like labor growth and wage growth and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's going to be certain way, like what you're talking about is very like 1950s, 60s, 70s Teamster style problems. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No, I don't.
oh, so you know the Teamsters were? They were the truck drivers unions and stuff.
Yes, they still exist. Yeah, I know the teams.
Well, you're the one that said you didn't know, so I'm trying to
Well, I
explain
don't know
it.
what you're talking about, but how that's a 1950s thing.
Because they're not nearly as strong today. That's my point. The
Okay.
Teamsters Union the unions in general used to be extremely potent political forces. They are far less so today.
Hmm.
That's my point.
Okay.
To further that point, smartass, now I'm losing my train of thought. To further my point is that I believe the things that you're talking about and the problems that you're talking about with like all of that is going to lead to sort of a resurgence of unions and whatnot. Are you typing stuff in for AI Marshawn Lynch?
No. I'm listening. I'm listening to what you're saying. There's also some other noises that are happening that I'm slightly concerned about.
All right, no worries. All I'm saying is basically, I think you're right. Like it's a weird little thing that's going on there.
Yeah, you
Well,
know,
what else? What are you gonna do? Like, what do you expect to happen?
yeah, it's a very complex problem that at least this region is very sensitive to. And I don't necessarily know how development is down by you, but it seems like the area that you live in is rapidly growing
Yes.
because of a lot of transplants,
Yes.
which, you know, so that might have been this region 10, 15 years ago when there's a lot of migration to the area. So you might be experiencing problems that I'm experiencing now in 10 years because of all of the growth and whatnot. So you might be dealing with warehouses and stuff down near you that could be happening. I don't, you know, who knows?
Well, I don't think so because for two reasons. One, the broad, we have different adjacent places.
Right.
You know, like we are not in that sort of. I mean, we're talking about the difference between the Lehigh Valley and Eastern Pennsylvania versus the Charleston metro area right on the Carolinas.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Just different.
it's different in terms of space available. It's different in terms of what's near there. Like the whole thing is like apples and oranges, to be perfectly honest with you. So
Yeah.
it's, you know, we're not in danger of having any real like space problems down here, so to speak. That's sort of the big deal. There's plenty of room here.
That's what you say. Land is finite. It fills up quick.
All right, Lex Luthor.
No,
Like,
that's what everybody thought here. Everybody thought like, oh, there's so much land here, there's never going to be a problem. But then when you put in million square foot warehouses, 800,000 square foot warehouses with truck docks and things like that, that eats it up real fast.
eats it up
You know?
in what way? No, it doesn't eat it up. It just changes the cost structure of building the next piece.
Well, but yeah, when
It's not like we're out of land. There's plenty of land.
Okay. Okay.
There is. It's just there's a higher marginal cost to develop things in different areas versus the ideal areas.
Yeah. I mean, yes, that is a fact. That there, all of the prime real estate is bought up quicker, and then the real estate that is left over, so to speak, that is developable, is much more difficult to develop, and there's much more cost associated with it.
Right, but it still exists. It's there. It's land.
But eventually it won't. You know, eventually if people own it and they develop it, and there's just less finite open space, then that's going to be there's never going to be more land. You know, that's the thing. Like
Well, the
eventually,
Hawaiian Islands didn't exist hundreds of thousands of years ago,
yeah,
and now
sure.
they do, and now they're quite valuable.
Of course, yeah. You got it. There's gonna be more islands popping up that are going to be we can put warehouses on, and we can deal with that. That's going to be a fun thing to deal with.
I don't know if you're arguing with me for the sake of arguing with me, or if we actually have a real disagreement, or what right now. But
no, it's an interesting. I like AI. Don't know where it's going to go. You don't know what the next thing is going to be, because like in the 90s, I guess it was like strip malls, and then in the early 2000s it was residential, and then in the late 2000s it was warehousing development. So like what the next residential or what the next real estate development is going to be, people are trying to figure that out. And that's a big thing in my world, figuring out what it's going to be. And a lot of people are trying to put data centers in. That's like what people are anticipating being the next thing is going to be massive data centers. So that's what people are trying to get real estate where they can build data centers. That's in like certain regions. So, because they think that there's going to be growth, and they think that there's enough land where they can put in massive data centers where they can build up the infrastructure, and that's what they can make money on. So that's the next wave, it seems like.
Well, but like it's funny how it comes full circle, but you go back to that Cisco and railroads thing we were arguing about earlier. Like, yeah, some of those things are probably going to get built, and it's also going to get overbuilt. Like, they're going to pay too much to get that stuff. Like, they're going to grease palms to ease like zoning ordinances if they have to get them built, and it's going to eventually drop but it'll crash the price of that, and then it'll kind of be like its next generation that dives in on all of it.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see where people are putting their money on to see what the next thing is, because like I said, like if you said, okay, everybody's building warehouses 10 years ago, okay, everybody's like on board with that, and then eventually that not ran out of steam, but people got organized oppositions against it, and townships got wise to it, and they really put people through the ringer if they wanted to put a warehouse in. So then that stifled that type of development. So then it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see like what the next cycle of development is going to be. And also if people are eating up all of these potential areas with commercial development, what is that going to do to the residential aspect of things? Because people are trying to find, housing is a problem in certain areas, and if there's no more new construction housing and it's all commercial real estate, then how are people going to start finding places to live? That's another thing. That's another weird problem in the real estate world that I'm seeing, is that people are trying to put in residential developments, but they're also getting stopped because of a lot of other weird things that they encountered in the early 2000s that townships don't want to deal with.
You're saying that, but are you saying this is a zoning issue per se? What is it like, what are you concerned about there? I don't get it.
What am I?
Because I can tell you a lot of problems with the
or
AI data centers. The AI data centers are going to be a big problem. It's going to come up in earnings and stuff over the next year. I think it's by 2025, 2026. A lot of tech earnings are going to start bitching about the cost of AI data centers.
Yeah, so people are going to try to build those, but I don't. I guess there's two things, right? One is from like a global standpoint, like where are things going to be going, and what are people going to be looking to develop, and where are those things going to be developing? From a personal standpoint, I'm trying to figure out who and how to get my company to get on the train of what developers are going to be trying to develop, and try to get partnered with those people so that we can do those jobs. That's a personal thing that I'm trying to figure out.
You're trying to find the companies who are going to build AI data centers and link up with them. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, more. I mean, in one.
You're pro AI data center because you've been like bitching and moaning about this. You're pro AI data center.
I'm pro development because that's what I do.
I'm like pro life, man.
Yeah. Well, no.
Wait, that is a real position. I meant like, oh wait, no.
No, it's just from a personal standpoint. So in my professional world, there's been a lot of shakeup in my company, and recently I just accepted a position as a division manager. So now I'm responsible for managing
the division,
a group of people, and then bringing in work and doing that kind of stuff is on my agenda now. That is something that I need to be paying a lot more attention to. So paying attention to where those certain trends are, who's going to be having the pockets to develop certain places, and try to get in with those developers and understand what they're trying to accomplish is important, so that you can market yourself to them and say, hey, look, we understand what you're trying to accomplish here. This is how we can do it, and that's what we can provide you, those services. So that's
I know what you're saying there. Like my Etsy store has 6 sales.
Wow. Almost 7. Almost
7. If you round up, we're at 10.
That's true. That's true.
So don't talk to me about the hustle.
The hustle. Oh yeah. You've got it down. Well, pretty soon you're going to be building your Trader Dad's headquarters. So when you build,
I think you're looking at it right now, but let me be honest with you.
So I was just listening to something, and they were talking about Dude Perfect, and how Dude Perfect is.
No.
So it's guys on YouTube, and they were these college guys that went to like Texas A&M, and they just started uploading YouTube videos of them doing trick shots of like throwing a shots, like trick shots, like throwing a basketball over a house into a basketball hoop.
Oh, I've probably seen them. I didn't know it was them though. Okay.
Yeah. So in 2022, they decided to build like $100 million Dude Perfect like headquarters. Like, it's
smart,
like
smart.
Yeah, but what does Dude Perfect need $100 million headquarters for? I don't know. We're gonna find out.
Like who are you to judge? We don't know what's gonna come in.
But apparently, it's gonna have like the history of Dude Perfect, and it's gonna have like you ever see Cars 3?
You ever see Cars 3? I don't think I did. No.
Oh, so basically, a rich guy buys Lightning McQueen's racing team, and he creates this racing center. And then when you walk in the lobby, it has like all these like historical artifacts for Lightning McQueen throughout his career. It's like, well, is it like
weird crap from the first 2 movies?
No, well, it's like it's like asphalt from his win at this place, and like it's just like it's like supposed to be like a nostalgia trip for Lightning McQueen. So,
I get it. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
But like, yeah, you walk into the Dude Perfect Museum, oh, back in 2013.
Well, 2013 is now 11 years ago.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
to a 9-year-old who thinks that crap's amazing, that's
yeah.
like,
I guess that's
wow,
true.
before I was born.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it's crazy
checkmate.
how
Yeah.
that works. Like there's so we went to long like years ago, we went to the 9/11 Memorial Museum, and we were
Jesus
there.
Christ. You are every goddamn word out of your mouth starts with the most depressing premise.
Well, anyway, so we were there. This is years ago. This is probably like 2015. But there were kids there who weren't alive. Like they were on a class trip, and we're like, oh wow, this is legitimate history to them.
That's the
And
thing on
then
Wall Street right now, just to quickly interrupt, because if you were born in 2021, or I'm sorry, if you were born in 2001,
yeah,
you're
2002.
now 23.
Yeah,
So you're like
yeah,
just out of college and you're like your
right,
first year analyst.
right,
So you're getting your first trickle of first year analysts into Wall Street who were born just after 9/11, which
right,
is so
yeah,
weird if you have an office like down in lower Manhattan
right. And you've been
and your
there for
manager was like there on 9/11.
right. Yeah, he's been there for
Yeah.
40 years. Yeah, that's tough. Yeah,
It's just like a noteworthy thing that has occurred.
right.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, now please continue your 9/11 story.
Well, no, I was just saying that that from a historical aspect that's interesting because like oh yeah, there's a lot of people that are in the working like exactly what you're saying like in the working world that just don't remember that as an event. But then that's like me going to Pearl Harbor. Like I wasn't around during Pearl Harbor, and to me that's all history. But there are people that obviously lived through that, and obviously they're getting less and less. But yeah, that's I'm trying to put myself in those like 9-year-old like frame of mind. Like they're looking at this and it's history to them, but then a lot of people lived through it, and it's like, oh wow, it's just different. It's just different.
That's true of most things, pal. Sorry to
Yeah.
break it to you. I
Oh.
like to follow on Instagram like stuff from the 90s.
Mm.
And I'm a big fan of 20th century history. Like that's really become my like sweet spot.
Yeah.
Like so there are some like dudes, particularly in the South here, who like Civil War history and stuff like
Yeah.
that, which is
Yep.
good for them. But I like a little bit more like 20th century stuff. Um,
You a big
and
Woodrow Wilson fan?
I'm a big Woodrow Wilson. Actually, my wife makes fun of me because for like a week and a half, we'd see people and I would be like, "Oh man, did you see the new Theodore Roosevelt documentary on the History Channel?"
Mm.
And she would, and I referenced it like 4 or 5 times in like the span of like, I'll say a month. And she had to pull me over and she's like, "Stop bringing that up. Nobody watches that."
Yeah. Yeah. You're definitely. Yeah. Wow. That's cool.
But I like all the 20th century stuff. The reason I like 20th century stuff is because I'm old enough to like I wrote a lot of things that you read in like a history special are things that now like I lived through, which is
Mm.
fun to see like how they are presenting it versus how it actually how I remember it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
90s is I was still a kid, as were you, but like
You remember certain
even
things.
but 9/11 was actually like a perfect example of it all
Yeah.
because like the way I remember 9/11 versus the way like a show will talk about 9/11 is not always the same thing. It's interesting
Right.
how that's become history now.
Yeah. 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 That's the thing. Yeah. Yeah. It's like I, this is a bad example, but the O.J.
You already
Simpson.
touched on 9/11 and like we can't just go.
No.
You
so
were
so
doing AI Marshawn Lynch. This is the most off the rails podcast we've
no.
ever had
So
on this goddamn
so I
thing.
remember. So I remember very vividly this memory. So I was sitting in the TV room waiting for Power Rangers to come on, and it wouldn't come on because there was a car chase, and it was the O.J. Simpson Bronco chase, and I was just so mad
Oh, I
that I
thought
had
you
to
were gonna
sit
say it
there.
was like Andrew Cuomo for COVID because you watched that
No,
shit when you
no,
were
no. And I
32.
was so mad as a little kid because Power Rangers wouldn't come on because there was this stupid car that wouldn't pull over.
Why won't this white Bronco just pull over? Damn
I was
it!
like, God, oh, come on. Just, I want to watch Power Rangers
Is
so bad.
Rita gonna win this time?
Yeah,
I gotta know.
I gotta know, I gotta know. But like, people are like, that was a very pivotal moment that I just happened to be watching as a very young
Dumb
kid.
luck.
It's just, but my perception of that event is like, I want to watch Power Rangers. It's not,
But he's OJ is a really good example though of something that is like of its time. Like
yeah,
when OJ died, anyone under 30 really didn't like. They're like, okay,
Yeah.
whatever. They don't
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
know. But
Yeah.
like to anyone over 30 had a very like firsthand memory of like what that like trial was. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like a really
Yeah.
good living history example.
Right. So what other major debacles in history can we talk about that were really bad that we can
In the
touch on?
20th century,
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, that we
because
lived
I
that.
just finished a History Channel documentary on the American mob. It was
Oh yeah.
brand new.
Oh yeah.
And
Okay.
it touches on all the points. It was excellent. It was on
Hmm.
the New York Five Families Mob. It was
All right.
excellent on the History Channel. I highly recommend it to anyone who likes that stuff. It starts in like 1900. Actually, it starts earlier than that. It starts in like the 1880s and explains how like what Sicily was like through all the
Hmm.
1800s, which kind of explains why like a Sicilian attitude exists. And then it goes like chronologically and it talks about like, okay, this happened and then this happened. And then because of this, they were able to do this and they go on and they talk. It was like watching an MCU film. Like
Hmm.
they really flesh out like all the big names like Joe Colombo and you go up to the beginning, it was like Joe Mazzaria, and then they go all the way to the end with like John Gotti and all across like the whole 20th century. They talk through the whole Italian mob and the five families of New York specifically, and they even tell you that. They say right in the beginning, like, look, we know that there was like a Philadelphia mob and the Chicago outfit and Buffalo and Kansas City and all this shit, but we're just
Hmm.
going to talk about the five families here in New York. And the
Hmm.
whole thing's about that, and it was excellent. I highly recommend it to anyone.
Hmm. Yeah, I'll have to take a look. What do you know what it was called?
What?
Do you know what it was called?
It's called The American Mafia, the Five Families.
Okay, on History Channel.
Yeah, it's great. One of the things I like to do with that stuff, and because like we were born when we were born, and we have a sense of what was going on. So they talked towards the end of it about like all the '90s dot-com boom. To come back to that, how like the mob got into all the securities fraud,
Hmm.
and so like I have like a sense of that. A, there was a great Sopranos arc on it, which explained it all. But B, like I know exactly what they're talking about when they say they're doing like a pump and dump scheme. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but the documentary gets into like what families and why were doing that in the 90s. They really like explain how they were like there's a very specific reason that, not to spoil it, but basically they talk about how the Bonanno, the movie Danny, what's his name? Donnie Brasco.
Yes.
So the movie Donnie Brasco is what's his name? I didn't have this at the top of my memory, these movies. Johnny Depp plays Donnie Brasco, who is an undercover FBI agent who infiltrates the mob by pretending he's a scumbag for like years on end, and he eventually gets almost made as a guy in the mob. Like, and it was like it's true story. So that really happened. That happened in real life within the Bonanno family. So those guys, after that happened, and they found out that they let like an FBI informant be within all of them for years, they all the other five families basically ostracized them, and they had to find all these other new ways to make mob money. So then by the 90s, they deliberately got into securities fraud because that was like an avenue that they weren't being like given the stink eye over, because the other family still hated them from that incident. So like they really dive into it like that, and you learn a lot about like why these people were in the mob at that time, what they were doing. And I have like firsthand, not firsthand, but like I get it. Like, oh, okay, like if you're like working in a boiler room in the early 2000s, which I worked in a boiler room, you can really like get a sense of like what the fuck that actually meant. So it was really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess you had some sort of perspective being what you lived in the New York metro area for a very long time. So,
Well, that
some of
too, yeah.
that
That's like, I know
residual
like
stuff is probably still around. And
yeah, like I know all the different like neighborhoods they were talking about. Like I knew like Red Hook in Brooklyn and that
right,
stuff and whatever. I knew where that is and what that's
right.
like.
And yeah, so that matter, like you had a frame of reference because, you lived there basically.
Oh
You
yeah,
knew what was going
100%.
on. Yeah. So, yeah, I didn't have time to watch that.
How did I have time to watch that?
Yeah.
Okay, honestly, because I'm able to sneak it in like 20, 30 minutes a night. Like after
Gotcha.
everyone goes
Yeah.
to sleep.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Are you,
My
in your family, are you the last one to go to sleep?
hit or miss. It
Really?
depends on, yeah, hit or miss. I mean, it's our kids don't sleep.
Neither do
So
mine.
yeah, so they,
Neither
you
did
know,
we
and,
apparently as children, according
yeah,
to our
so yeah,
parents.
apparently. But no, it depends on what's going on and who has to get up the next day. Like, you know, I work 5 days a week. My wife doesn't. So her schedule is different. So like on days she doesn't have to go to work the next day, she's usually dealing with some of that more so than I am overnight. And then you know, if somebody's just if their tank is empty, you know, she'll go to
Hmm.
bed and I'll just try to clean up the rest of the house, and or vice versa. If I'm dragging because just for whatever reason work whatever, then I'll try to go to bed and just try to get some sleep because if the kid wake up in the middle of the night and got to deal with it, you know, it's just trying to get sleep when you can. So we're still in that
Sure.
first year, and you know we're trying to get past that year mark.
Sure.
So yeah, it's hit or miss, and then you know sleep is a premium in our house, so we're trying to just figure it out as best we can. There's no rhyme or reason as to who goes to sleep when. It's just happens.
I
You
get
know.
it. I can
Yeah.
see how that totally happens. See, like we have a very rigid hierarchy and routine and timing.
Mm.
Like I have Alexa alarm set in like the
Yeah.
upstairs like kind of like
Yep.
area. So
Mm.
and it goes off the same time every night, and so it's
Yep.
out there like everyone knows it's time to start laying down. Everyone goes to their corners, the whole bit.
Yep.
And it still takes a while to calm everybody down, but I
Oh
have
yeah.
like somebody to point to and say like, look, it's time. Like that's a
Yeah.
thing. Go do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I mean, we've been trying to do that. We've had an Alexa alarm for those things for a year and a half, and it's just,
You
you know,
don't,
just,
yeah, it get
yeah,
drowned out over time.
yeah, that's basically what happened. It's like, all right, well, you know, we're sitting there and, you know, something goes haywire and they had to do something. So like we're sitting there eating dinner and the alarm goes off. I was like, well, finish your dinner and then we'll get bedtime started and we'll get showers. And
You do need an enforcer behind it. Like
yeah,
my demeanor changes like on a dime as soon as that
yeah,
Alexa alarm goes off. It's like
yeah,
because it's really more of a reminder for me, to be
right,
perfectly frank. It's
right.
like it's reminding, forget the kids, it's just reminding me, hey, like you gotta get a move in here, like time's wasting, like the nights.
Yeah, yeah,
That's really
exactly.
what
Yeah,
it is. Because too easy it can turn to
yeah.
like 7 turns to 8 turns to 9
Mhm.
p.m. and then you're like, it's where did 2 hours go? Where
Yeah, oh yeah, every night is like that. You know, so luckily, like lately, the youngest one, we've been trying to get her to sleep, and she's been doing a really good job of putting herself to sleep.
Mhm.
So like we've been able to like just put her down and just let her go, and she's been what like recently she slept through the entire night, and we woke up the next morning like, hey, did you get up with her? No. Did you get up with her? No. Oh man, she slept the entire night. That was like a big like, ooh, we did it, you know. And then the next night she did it again.
I'm gonna stop you right there and I'm gonna take a pause and I'm gonna agitate every parent listening. My 5 month old has slept for 9 consecutive hours every single night since he was 3.5 months old.
Well, I think that's all we have time for today, and
It's unreal. He's the best. He's the best baby when it comes to sleep. His
well,
sleep
that's good.
cycle is on point. He
That's
falls
great.
asleep right at 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
He is
that's awesome.
asleep right till like 6 a.m. or so, right when we're getting up anyway.
Nice. That's great. That's
Six out
awesome.
of seven nights. 6 out of 7 nights.
That's fantastic. That. I mean, that's great. So you know, of course, he's not going to eat food, and he's not going to, you know,
There'll be another shoe to drop.
yeah,
He's gonna have like, I don't know. He's gonna have
something.
like severe allergies to something or something terrible. Like there'll be another shoe that drops, but we're
Nah,
gonna take what we can get for now.
no, that's great though. That's good to hear. That. I mean, that's great. That's just you can't. That's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah. Come at me, bro. Like,
I'm
yeah,
not.
it's
I'm not.
great.
I'm happy for you. You know, like you know, the alternative to that is if you had. Let's take the opposite side of that. If like he was like a terrible sleeper, that doesn't affect me either. So why would I wish terribleness on you? Like I'm happy for you that your kid sleeps through the night and that you potentially can get some sleep. Great, I'm happy for you. You know, that's great. I'm you know,
Stupid high road.
well, you know, I'm trying to put out some more positivity. And I'm trying to be a little more positive. You know, just trying to. I can affect that. I can be more positive. So try to be more positive. I guess that's the takeaway.
Okay. That
Yeah,
works. I
yeah,
understand.
yeah. So
So, sir, we are coming up on almost an hour. So I didn't have a whole lot else really. This went in some zigs and zags, but I do appreciate you coming
I
on this
I
month.
keep them guessing. You know, it's what I do. You know, I keep people guessing. I appreciate the well. I didn't get the people wanted me back pep talk that the other guys got. But that's fine. I get it. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. But it's fine.
Well,
Maybe
you
next
did,
time.
but we did need, but there was a lot of expectation on you fixing your dishwasher.
Well, I'm glad that Marshawn could really, join us and really give some input as to, dishwashers on the Trader Dad podcast. That was very, very enlightening. I think that next time we might reach out to some more high profile individuals to really see what their thoughts are on the Trader Dad podcast and to see what the economic outlook is going to be. We'll see.
All right. Well, we'll see if it might be like 20 months from now.
Well, and that'll be just enough time. I'm excited for when Dwayne the Rock Johnson announces his presidency, and maybe I can get him on board, and for his bid for the 2028 election. That's what I'm that's what I'm waiting for.
All right. Well, you're gonna waste your vote again. All right. Good job.
No, it's fine. It's all good. But thanks for having me on. That was a lot of fun. So.
All right. So, well, thanks everybody for listening. If you made it this far, I'd be really impressed if you dodged all of the mines that were thrown at you. We don't throw mines. All of the shots you were thrown at this month. So just as a reminder, don't forget to like and subscribe on this. The Substack drops every Tuesday. That has all of the conversations and references that we'd made about future of work and AI. Additionally, we're on Instagram, X. I have a Pinterest board, very happening. And with the Etsy store, we got some swag that shows up every month. You can pick up some cool stuff. Thomas, do you have anything else you'd like to say before we log off for the month?
Just nothing really, nothing good. Just be nice to everybody else. Be nice to everybody.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you, everybody. Bye.